welcome back. I'm just going to say it. For most of my life, I thought being good meant being quiet, not making waves, just going along with the plan, especially when someone with authority, such as like a doctor or a boss or a teacher, told me what to do, or even society. And then one day in a doctor's office over 10 years ago, that belief got challenged, and it really changed everything. Not just my health, but my entire life. Here's what happened. I was dealing with chronic autoimmune disease. My daughters were as well. Mine and theirs were labeled as idiopathic, which is just a fancy way of saying we don't know why this is happening to you, but here's some medication. I go into this appointment, and the first thing the doctor says is, we're just going to start you on injections, but I'm going to let you choose which one that you would like. And something in me, I don't even know how to fully explain it. It paused. It made me pause, like a quiet voice said, like, wait. And just a little backstory. I've been a nurse for a couple years, so I'm very much ingrained in the Western medicine model, okay? So this is where my mind was. I come from a family, we didn't know anything about natural healing and medicine. So for me to have this specific voice was very much destined to be. Back to the appointment. I told him I wanted to try natural remedies first. I wanted to give my body a chance before jumping into something so intense and with a lot of side effects. But here's the thing, I was terrified to say that out loud. This is a specialist. This is someone who went to school for over a decade, who has seen hundreds of patients, who clearly knows more than me. Who was I to question that? And I almost didn't say a word. I was ready to just nod, take the prescription, follow the plan, because that's what you're supposed to do, right? But it took everything in me, and I mean everything, to just speak up. I said, can I try some natural approaches first before we go into injections? And he laughed. He actually laughed at me and said, good luck with that. And then he handed me the slip and said, I'll see you back in a week or two. I think it was a week. Now, I could have let that crush me. And it almost did, but this was a turning point for me. I remember walking out of the office feeling so small, like I'd embarrassed myself for even asking, but I didn't go back to my original plan. I went home, I started researching, and I started making radical changes to my diet, lifestyle, stress, sleep, all of it. It was not overnight. It took time, consistency, trial and error, but I healed my autoimmune disease. The thing a doctor told me would only be cured by injections, and I managed to heal it naturally. I never started those injections, and honestly, the healing in my body was almost secondary when the bigger thing that happened was internal. I proved to myself that my voice mattered. My intuition actually knows the way. I have that inner knowing, even if it goes against the expert, even when it's scary or someone laughs at you, that voice is worth listening to. And here's what I started noticing after that. That same fear, the fear of speaking up, questioning, saying, actually, that doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't just show up in doctor's offices. It shows up with your boss, your community, your partnerships, your friendships. It shows up in those relationships. When something bothers you, but you stay quiet because you don't want to make a big deal out of it, it shows up. When you say yes to plans that you don't really want to go to, when you stay in jobs that drain you, when you let people talk over you in meetings and events. Every single time we swallow what we actually feel to keep the peace, to avoid being difficult, to not rock the boat, we're handing our power over to someone else. And what I learned from that doctor's office moment is speaking up doesn't always feel good in the moment. Sometimes it's met with laughter or pushback or some awkward silence, but it almost always leads to a better outcome than staying silent would have. Silence might feel safer, but rarely it gets you the results you actually want. If you're someone who tends to stay quiet, who swallows what you really think to keep things smooth, here's something I think you should try. Next time you feel that little tug, that quiet, oh wait, I don't agree. This doesn't feel right. Pause and ask yourself, what am I not saying right now because I'm afraid of how someone will react? That's it. Just notice it. You don't even have to say anything, but just start noticing the moments where you're choosing silence over your own truth, because that moment in the doctor's office where I almost stayed quiet, that's the moment that changed the entire trajectory of my health, my youth, my 20s, and my life up until now. I'm 38 years old. So if this resonates with you, I want you to know this is exactly what I talk about here, helping you say it out loud. The things you've been holding back, the things that need to come out in order for you to heal your body, your relationships, your life, your career. So just subscribe below. We'll be YouTube friends because we're going to keep doing this together. And I would love for you to drop a comment. Tell me one thing you've been afraid to say out loud. I'll read every single one of them. I'll see you in the next video. For those of you who are already part of my email community, just know that you can reply to the emails that I send, and I will directly, personally respond to them as quickly as possible. But see y'all in the next one.